psychoactive drug abuse could have grave consequences on security in the nation's capital.
A breakdown shows an estimated 10.6 million use cannabis. In Abuja, the police authorities are concerned that drug abuse
Hello there. Today you're going to be watching a documentary by the National Association of Seadogs. In the course of this video, we've had to redact some images just to protect the privacy of the people involved. These are real people who you would see every day. In the light of the dangers associated with drug abuse and the threats that it portends for the future of our country, bearing in mind that the menace is prevalent amongst the young people, who incidentally were referred to as the future of Nigeria. In the course of this video, we will be making real-life purchases of hard drugs and showing you the victims and suppliers of hard drugs.
Bros, how much? I want buy like 10. How much you will give me? 10.
Last 1,500 codeine day.
You get codeine? How much be codeine?
4,000, 5,000, 3,000.
Roach income?
Roach day.
You dey collect transfer?
Yeah, I know my license.
Which account do they use?
Any open the line. Open the line.
Oh, okay. That's the problem.
In an interview with the capone of Sahara Deck, Mr. Victor Ofili, this is what he had to say.
The drug abuse is becoming a scourge in Nigeria. This is our own part of our contribution to getting the society to know the adverse effects of drug abuse. Even children as young as 12 are caught in this web of drug abuse.
Charlie, cop.
This matter you know say. Mother that wonder. You know wonder. Which one? How much? What do you want? This man I will show you the play where it's this man.
So my name is Samuel Adekunle. I'm a clinical psychologist. When we say drug abuse, we're referring to the abnormal usage of drugs. But what the context means is that psychoactive substances, that is what professionally we refer to as drug abuse. And when we talk about psychoactive substances, we're referring to drugs or substances that alters the average individual psyche, works on the person's psychology, and then affect the person's perception and judgment.
You belong by the castle.
See this man you know that play where Salah.
Bring Arizona first. Bring Arizona.
What's Arizona?
Codeine.
Menene ake ya ake ko ka je ba abun da zaka samu ya zaka ce ake wani abu da kai.
Bring Arizona. Bros, where did they sell?
Baka san halin su ba ya kadi sai
This one the way they for that junction after Fidelity.
Enter inside.
We've interviewed a former NAS medical pirate, Dr. Chiezo Odomena, to get his view on drug abuse.
I think what we are doing more is a reactive approach. We need to be more proactive, and I put the blame more on the National Orientation Agency. There's really not much awareness on the effects of abusing drugs.
So briefly, can you tell us about the NDLEA, its mandate, and National Strategic Plan?
The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, established by the Babangida administration, about 1989, effectively took off in 1990, and the task
was addressing the challenges of illicit drug trafficking and abuse in Nigeria, which was not only dealing a mortal blow to the health of Nigerians, but also bringing the nation to disrepute internationally. And his mandate was ensure that the availability of drugs were adequately controlled. That's by virtue of supply control activities. Balance it up with what we call the drug demand reduction. Ensure that the people who use these drugs give up their interest, therefore reduce the demand. And probably if in the event of you make arrest and seize drugs, investigate and prosecute them.
That's coming to my next question. What are the most commonly abused drugs in the FCT and their street names?
Thank you very much. Cannabis sativa, otherwise known as marijuana or igbo or the hemp, remains the most prevalent. And it's not very far away from the factor of availability, because it's readily available and relatively cheaper than the other drugs. So in FCT, like in other parts of Nigeria, the most prevalent drug will be cannabis. But we have also found cases of other drugs like the methamphetamine, cocaine, heroin, also found in FCT. And of late, the cookies. And that's quite new.
Speaking about Nigeria on the whole, would you agree that Nigeria has now moved from being a transit country to a drug-dependent?
Long time ago, Nigeria moved from being a transit country. Nigeria is not just a drug-dependent country now. Nigeria is, especially when it comes to the area of the methamphetamine, or what we call the vitamin-type stimulants. Nigeria is not just using, but also producing. Co-producing in commercial quantities. As a matter of fact, NDLEA had to bust one of those centers in Delta State a few years ago, and it was $1 million production. Now the owner of that shop, the owner of that factory, had about 5 Bolivians. He employed about 5 expatriates. And so it tells you that for a long time we have gone beyond being a transit country. I will share an instance. A few months ago we had a program, and one of the wives of the governors in the neighboring state was sharing her experience and said the friend was part of a vehicle that was intercepted and they were kidnapped. And the lady had cash of about 70,000 naira on her. As soon as they got the cash, 50,000 naira of that money was taken immediately and order was placed for the purchase of drugs. And so it tells you that the immediate instigator, what keeps them, what takes them away from the normal human and logical living into commission of crime is drug use. Under the influence of drugs, any human being is capable of doing any crime, because it impairs your thoughts, it impairs your vision, and instigates you to be carrying out a crime that under normal circumstances you wouldn't dare to. From the records that we receive from the theaters of war in Nigeria, each time the military overruns camps, there's usually a catch of drugs, huge quantity of drugs.
Like all these trauma, we see if person get injured for hospital, if they carry and go to the person will carry trauma, give so that take, so that I think the pain go reduce. The pain go reduce.
So for people where they take that, you say na tramol, people where they take the tramol now, we no get injury, which pain now they want reduce?
Now they affect their like that one, but like tramol, but me I don't want to take them, but now I need to take them.
So when you take them, waiting they make you?
Take that tramol. Like that, but if I take them now, but if I start to work for all these places, if you with them, all this work, go do as to make the work no finish. Maybe you have continue.
You go work like machine.
I tell you, you have to work like machine.
Yeah. So why you not stop them?
Yeah, you don't include money because of the money. But if you take and say one crime,
how much do they sell them now? For if you want to buy them now, how much they don't for them? How much you do now?
Before, I tell you, they will use 3 takes naira, but now about 1. You don't reach 1,000, but now they like 700, 800 now like this.
Okay, as government ban am, the price come increase for black market.
The NDLEA is doing its best, but it's a paramilitary organization. They are really into more of arresting and trying to stop the sales of these drugs in our society. But the best approach to taking care of a problem is prevention, and it lies more with the National Orientation Agency.
Bring one Arizona first.
No, how much?
One, bring one. How much?
How much?
500.
This one what are they here? Police come here and go waiting to happen.
Police not the Boston, have you?
And I settle them, I've been waiting. I said when they settle them, I've been
They go they settle now.
When they settle the police.
They go they settle.
There are several factors. Broadly, you can classify them to individual, environmental. For the individual factor, it could be curiosity. You know, an individual is very curious, would want to experiment substance use. It could be peer pressure. You know, it could be simply traditional for those who use psychoactive substance for ritual purposes. For the environmental, it could be accessibility, you know, accessibility and availability. If it is very common in an environment, you'll see an average person is more likely to dabble into substance use.
Which one be C and C? Copain. Cop N. Look, all of them are codeine. Now Benylin I like. Ah, Benylin no dey. Pacali, I know Pacali. You get Pacali? How much you Pacali? That's C and C where you talk now. How much? Huh? Is the high pass Pacali?
Yes.
C and C 5,000. And I hear the crack people they do. Okay, this side.
We've come across a lot of drug dens and places of interest where we found that the sale and distribution of hard drugs is certainly being done within eyesight of the authorities, and it appears from all indications that everyone is turning a blind eye to it. You will see that we identify places such as Gwarimpa, Wusetu. These are popularly known as high-density areas where people of high net worth live. On most of these streets, you'll find that we've got lounges, clubhouses, places of interest which attract the market and works alongside drug use and distribution.
No. This one now how much?
Now 1.5.
1.5 like this.
1.5. Oh. Quite big one. One and one and Nuna Muku.
See one
I'll
done.
show you.
As in this one now 1.5. This small one.
Now 1.5.
How many of them did?
1.
Only this one day.
Maybe this thing not gonna do anything.
Not gonna do now.
What if
How many you need? Oga, me I not get money in my hand.
Okay, they need money to go buy them there.
Yes.
Okay, so if we give you money now, you go get the half gram.
No. Now pieces, half gram no day.
Open that one again, I beg.
Okay, half gram no day, just these pieces.
My pieces what? You don't travel.
Okay.
Oga.
1.5.
Now 1.5.
You know work.
This one no work.
You know
We don't fit see any other place buy better one. We go settle you for the time we don't waste.
We've also had interview buyers, users of drugs, to find out how easy it is to get access to these drugs.
Okay, Mr. Brown. How long you don't take this one now?
So now, 2008,
You 2008?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I don't reach 7 years now. I smoke this one.
Are you serious? Yeah. So what do they do for your body now?
So they make
just like more the ginger to
they give me confidence. If I don't take Ghana, they work confirm. No
they
shaking.
confidence.
They make me. They make
that's
my moral.
No thinking. Everything okay.
The reason where.
Yes. You go do the work well and you go still the hijack.
In order for us to gain a proper perspective, we had to sit and discuss with somebody who is well known and very high in the drug trade. We've tried as much as possible to keep his identity hidden for his own safety. He's giving us a great insight into drug use and its distribution within the FCT.
These particular ones are the ones that grow indoors.
Okay. Indoors?
Yes.
Okay.
Why this one, the one that grow outside vegetation, under sun?
Garden.
Yes. Why this one is the one they call loud, which they call it grow indoors.
Loud?
Yes.
Indoors, okay.
Yes. Usually they have their different prices, but the same use. Okay. Anybody can smoke it.
Okay.
It's lighter.
Okay.
Why this one is heavier?
It's heavier. Okay.
And this one is the one that comes all the way from Canada, London. Very expensive.
The loud comes from Canada.
Yeah.
It's very expensive.
Yes. But you sell it with scale.
So, like, how much do you sell this quantity of the loud now?
This one is 10,000.
This quantity is 10,000.
Yes, 1 gram.
1 gram goes for 10,000. And this one?
This one is 100 naira.
100 naira, the one that is commonly smoked.
Yes.
And this one that is grown inside
Ghana is 1,000 naira.
1,000 naira.
So you can see how the money has differentiated their style.
Drug abuse is a serious issue in Nigeria in total. Actually very high within the south, southeast and southwest. In FCT here, if you move around daily to some hidden areas within FCT, you get to notice that a lot of youths patronize most of these areas where banned drugs are being sold. And it has resulted to a lot of issues within our society.
Our undercover agents, in a bid to investigate how possible it is to access drugs within the FCT, have acted as serious buyers.
This one, how much? How much? 5K. So. Ice. That's what you call it. I don't know whether him explain about me give you well. Eh? I get people. That's the truth of the matter. Maybe about this one where you bring. Eh? Maybe about this one where you bring. We just tell you now we see him. It's no you also. I get people who want plenty. Plenty.
We need them plenty.
Yes. So this now, what is the highest quantity you can deliver?
Highest quantity.
This evening, self. What do you feel do this evening?
I feel bring like 20 or 30.
Minimum of 20, maximum of 30.
Yeah, like this one now, I will bring like 30 pieces.
But this one I have.
You see, one of the problems with rehabilitation is stigmatization. Many drug abusers find it hard to go for rehabilitation because they feel that the society look down on them and the stigma will continue with them for life. In our society, one of the biggest problems with rehabilitation is the expenses, the funding, because it's an expensive process. Many of these drug abusers sometimes try to get rehabilitated themselves, but they lack the fund to get into the process.
This is crack.
This is the pipe you use to smoke it. This is the crack.
Are you serious? Does it hire you more than weed?
Behind them, we do it.
No, I won't video you. I won't video you. It gets you high more than weed.
But the problem did last for 2 minutes.
Okay, it just gets you high for 2 minutes.
Yeah, but it's the most.
It's the most. Are you kidding me? Wow. Wow. Are you serious? Don't worry.
For an average person, using substance will get the person hooked. So you see deficiency in so many areas. Academically, you see deficiency. The person's grade will start dropping. The person will no longer have interest in going to school because the person is most likely addicted to substance at that particular age. So you see skills deficit.
Cover. But you supposed to understand, say our government, now the people wey they take time to do something. Me, I believe say in one day, government will allow us to have our way in selling this in a way government will get their own money.
The challenges are very much. Like I said, psychosocial, the psychological angle, the social angle, and then the biological angle. So individuals can have medical complications because they're using substance. They can have, the society can stigmatize them because they're using substances. And then psychologically, they would have some certain level of deficit, be it interpersonal relationship, be it in terms of aspiration in pursuit of goals. So there are challenges that can come up on account of using substances.
In the course of recording and preparing this video documentary, we've seen a step up in the activities and arrest by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency.
different assorted types of drugs, cookies, brownies, and gummies. Now we even have gummies, according to one of the correspondents there. So the gummies came from abroad, and we monitored it coming from UK until we seized it here in the FCT. While some of these brownies we are seeing are not only found in some hotels, they are also found in some of the parks, gardens, and recreation centers in the FCT. There are a lot of people now, a lot of young girls who are engaged in the production of these brownies and cookies, and they sell same to people, in parties, particularly in some parks. We have made some arrests in some parks where we got some drugs from people around the parks, and recently we have clamped down on some of these parks. We have engaged all the association and members of parks and recreation centers here in the FCT, and also members of the executive of the hospitality industry, with a view to have that mutual beneficial relationship. While we try to sanitize the FCT of drugs, we also allowed them to do their businesses unhindered. So they gave us information, and we also carry out our duties of ensuring a drug-free society. What we are doing as a preventive strategy is to ensure that in all the parks and gardens and hotels in the FCT, we have this caveat, we have this notice, which is a disclaimer notice to show that smoking of weed or any narcotic substances are prohibited within these premises.
In Abuja, we have been able to show you that we have a serious drug problem, such that the capital city has become a hub for serious drug use and high-end distribution. Our work is to draw attention of the authorities, and more particularly the security services, to the illicit drug consumption and sale within the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. We're certain that if the authorities will sustain and improve on the fight against the drug barons and the high-end users, then it may serve as a deterrence against those who are considering to trade or use illegal drugs and substances. As earlier mentioned, we commend the recent high-profile arrest by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, acting in concert with the Nigerian police. However, it is our view that the level of work which is done is just not enough. It's time that the authorities started to look and pay more emphasis towards advocacy and rehabilitation. These twin things no doubt will serve to help in the fight in curbing this menace within the FCT.